Lyra had always been fascinated by the stories of the past. As a young alien historian of the planet Veyrath, she spent her days examining ancient ruins, dusty artifacts, and broken inscriptions left by civilizations long gone. She loved the thrill of discovering history, but she had never believed in the old legends, especially the ones about a human warrior who had once traveled across the stars, protecting planets and civilizations from unstoppable threats. Humans don't exist beyond stories, she muttered to herself, brushing dust from a crumbling tablet. Her long fingers traced the strange symbols carved into the stone. The writing glowed faintly as the sun hit it, revealing images of a tall figure with unusual features. 2 eyes, 2 arms, 2 legs, and a strong, determined posture. Lyra shook her head. This is just a myth, nothing more. Still, the artifact fascinated her. It was unlike anything she had seen before. It seemed alive in some strange way, almost as if it wanted to tell her something. But she was determined to remain rational. Legends were for children, she told herself. Scholars knew better. The wind rustled through the ruins outside her small research outpost, carrying whispers of leaves and distant wildlife. Lyra loved the calm, the quiet that allowed her to think. But today, there was an unusual tension in the air, a subtle sense that something was about to change. She ignored it, focusing instead on the tablet in front of her. She scanned the inscriptions and sketches. They showed a figure fighting strange creatures that resembled shadows with glowing eyes. The legend said that this warrior, a human, had faced dangers that no alien could survive. Yet here on Veyrath, in the quiet forests and peaceful cities, Lyra had never seen evidence that humans had even existed. A sudden vibration in the artifact startled her. It hummed softly, a low and rhythmic pulse as if it recognized something in her. Lyra froze. Could an artifact respond like this? She had read about such phenomena, but she had never experienced it firsthand. Her heart beat faster. What is this? She whispered, leaning closer. The tablet's glow seemed to grow brighter, almost like it was pointing toward the sky. Lyra followed the faint light, her curiosity overcoming her skepticism. She had spent years studying ruins, but this was different. Something was calling to her. The next day, she presented her findings to the Alien Council of Historians. Their chamber was vast and filled with glowing crystal panels, each showing ancient knowledge collected over centuries. Elder Talion, a wise and cautious figure, looked over the tablet. His long arms folded across his chest and his eyes narrowed. Lyra, you know these legends are just stories, he said, his voice calm but firm. Humans may have existed somewhere long ago, but no evidence proves that a human warrior visited our planet. I know, Lyra replied, trying to sound confident. But this artifact, it reacts differently to me. Look at the glow. It feels alive. It feels like it's waiting for something or someone. Elder Talion shook his head. Artifacts can react to touch, energy, even light. There is no need to believe in myths. Focus on what is verifiable. Lyra left the council chamber, her frustration simmering. She had always been careful with her words, careful not to let emotion cloud her judgment. Yet deep inside, a small part of her wondered, what if the legends were true? What if humans were real and one of them was on its way here? That evening, Lyra returned to the ruins. The forest outside was alive with colors under the twin moons, casting silver and violet shadows across the ground. She held the tablet close, feeling the faint pulse of energy emanating from it. Something was coming. She didn't know what, but her instinct screamed that it was no ordinary visitor. As she walked deeper into the ruins, strange sounds reached her ears. Not animal sounds, not the usual whispers of the wind, but low, rhythmic vibrations, almost like a heartbeat. Lyra froze. Her mind raced. Was it the artifact reacting again? Or something else entirely? Then she saw it. A faint shimmer in the sky, distant but unmistakable. A massive ship moving slowly toward the planet. Its shape was unlike anything she had seen before. Sleek, strong, and purposeful, it cut through the atmosphere with precision. Lyra's heart leapt. Could it be a human? The ship landed in a clearing near the ruins, its engines sending dust and leaves into the air. Lyra watched from a distance, her skepticism battling with the growing sense of wonder. She wanted to run, to hide, yet she could not tear her eyes away. The legends. Maybe they were real. Hours passed. The ship's doors opened and a figure stepped out. Tall, strong, and unmistakably human, The warrior moved with confidence. Lyra's mouth went dry. This was no myth. This was real. The human warrior had arrived. She wanted to approach, but something held her back. The forest around her seemed to sense his presence, and the air was charged with energy. Even the ancient ruins seemed to respond to his arrival, glowing faintly as if recognizing him. Lyra's mind raced with questions. Who was this human? Why had he come? And what did the legends mean when they said a human warrior could protect civilizations from threats that even advanced alien species could not face? Her hesitation did not last long. A loud roar echoed through the forest, shaking the trees. Shadows moved in unnatural ways, and creatures she had never seen emerged from the darkness. They were enormous, with glinting eyes and sharp claws, and they moved toward the landing site. The human warrior did not hesitate. He drew strange weapons, metallic, glowing with a faint light, and faced the creatures without fear. Lyra watched in awe as he fought with precision, strategy, and courage unlike anything she had imagined. Each movement was deliberate, every strike calculated. The creatures, powerful as they were, could not match his skill. Lyra realized then that the legends had not exaggerated. Humans, or at least this human, were extraordinary, not just strong, not just brave, but clever, adaptable, and fearless. As the last of the creatures fell, the warrior looked around, scanning his surroundings. Lyra stepped out from behind a tree, her curiosity overwhelming her caution. Who are you?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. The human turned his gaze toward her. His eyes were sharp, intelligent, and calm. "I am Captain Jaren," he said simply. "I was sent here because your planet is in danger." Lyra's heart skipped a beat. Danger? What kind of danger? And why him? The wind rustled through the ruins again, carrying with it a sense of urgency. Lyra knew that her life, and perhaps the future of her planet, was about to change forever. She had always dismissed the legends, laughed at the idea of a human warrior. But now, standing before Captain Jaren, she knew that the stories were true, and that the real adventure was just beginning. As night fell over the ruins, Lyra made a choice. She would no longer be a skeptic. She would learn everything she could about this human warrior, and perhaps together, they could uncover the truth behind the legends and the threat that now loomed over Veyrath. The stars above twinkled, silent witnesses to a new chapter in the planet's history. Lyra felt a thrill she had never known. For the first time, the impossible seemed possible. The legends were real. The human warrior was real, and the adventure of a lifetime awaited. The sun rose over the forests of Veyrath, casting long golden shadows between the ancient ruins. Lyra could barely sleep the night before. Captain Jaren, the human warrior, had proven himself beyond any doubt. He had fought creatures that even the bravest aliens would hesitate to confront. Yet he did not speak much of himself, and that made him even more mysterious. Lyra had watched him train, walk, and explore the landing site. His movements were deliberate and confident, like every action was calculated. But unlike the aliens she knew, there was a strange unpredictability in him. He could adapt quickly to new situations, and he seemed to anticipate dangers before they happened. She felt a mixture of awe and curiosity. The Council of Elders had called an emergency meeting. Word of the humans' arrival had spread, and not everyone was pleased. Some elders feared what his presence could mean. Humans were unknown, they were unpredictable, strong, and their legends spoke of powers that surpassed even advanced alien technology. Lyra entered the council chamber, carrying the tablet that had led them here. Elder Talion was there, along with a dozen other elders, their eyes sharp and suspicious. The chamber hummed with quiet tension, the air thick with anticipation. "Lyra," Talion began, "you brought us a human, and now you expect us to trust him?" "I don't know what to expect," Lyra admitted, "but what I saw, he is extraordinary. I believe he has come to help us." "Help us," another elder scoffed. "Humans are dangerous. We cannot risk allowing one of them to interfere in our affairs. We have survived for centuries without them." Lyra felt frustration building, but she remained calm. "We cannot ignore the signs. The ruins are reacting. The forest is changing. Something is coming, and I believe he is part of the solution." There was a long silence. Finally, Talion spoke again. "Very well. You may accompany him, but you are responsible for his actions. If this human brings danger to our people, it will be on your head." Lyra nodded. She was ready. She had made her decision. Outside, the clearing was alive with movement. Captain Jaren had begun examining the ship. touching panels and inspecting equipment with a careful hand. He was methodical, yet he seemed to understand the alien technology in ways that no one expected. Lyra approached cautiously, holding the glowing tablet. "Captain Jaren," she called. He turned his head, his eyes sharp and alert. "You must be Lyra," he said, his voice calm and even. "I've heard about the artifact you found. It led me here." Lyra hesitated. It seems to recognize you." "I don't understand why." Jaren studied the tablet carefully. "This artifact is old, yes, but it is attuned to something. Something only a human can activate. That's why I was drawn here," Lyra frowned. "Only a human?" "Only a human with purpose and courage," Jaren said. His gaze was steady. "I am here because your planet is in danger. Something is awakening, something that could destroy your civilization if left unchecked." Lyra's mind raced. She had expected threats, perhaps rogue creatures or natural disasters. But an ancient force awakening? That was beyond anything she had imagined. "Why you?" she asked quietly. "Why not one of us? Our warriors are strong. Our technology is advanced. Why a human?" Jaren smiled faintly. "I am trained to face what you cannot. My species. We have a history of survival in impossible situations. Sometimes the impossible requires someone unexpected." Before Lyra could respond, the ground shook beneath them. Birds scattered from the trees and a distant roar echoed through the forest. It was a sound she had heard the night before, powerful, terrifying, and alive with intent. "Show me," Jaren said calmly. "Lead me to it," Lyra nodded. She had explored the ruins many times, but never had she faced the creatures or phenomena described in the legends. Together, she and Jaren made their way toward the forest. The closer they got, the more the environment seemed to react to Jaren's presence. Trees shifted slightly, vines recoiled, and the ruins glowed faintly as if awakening. Lyra's skepticism melted away with each step. The legends were not myths, they were warnings, and Jaren was the one who could heed them. Suddenly, the first of the creatures appeared. They were large, shadowy forms with glowing eyes and sharp limbs. They moved quickly, yet with intelligence. Lyra froze, but Jaren stepped forward without hesitation. He did not draw his weapons in the way she expected. Instead, he analyzed their movements, watching carefully. Then in a fluid motion he struck, using his environment to his advantage. Fallen branches, rocks, and even the energy of the ruins themselves became tools in his strategy. Lyra's eyes widened. She had seen aliens fight, trained warriors with technology beyond imagination, yet nothing compared to this. Jaren's actions were unpredictable but effective. He anticipated attacks, adapted instantly, and turned even the smallest advantage into survival. The creatures recoiled, disoriented by his skill. Lyra felt a mixture of fear and awe. "He's incredible," she whispered. Jaren glanced at her. "Stay close," he said simply. "Observe, learn. You may need to act too." For the first time, Lyra realized that the human was not just a warrior. He was a teacher, a strategist, and a symbol of what humans could achieve. His presence inspired confidence in her that she had never felt before. After the last creature fled, Jaren turned to her. "These were scouts. The main force is coming, and they are far stronger." Lyra swallowed hard. "Then we need help." "We will need more than help," Jaren replied. "We will need allies. Your species has strength, technology, and knowledge. I have experience in tactics. Together we can face what is coming." Lyra nodded, determination rising in her chest. She had always believed she knew everything about her world. But now she understood how limited her knowledge truly was. Humans were different. They saw the world in ways aliens could not. They adapted. They survived. They thrived. The Council would resist, she knew. Fear would make them hesitant. But Lyra would not let that stop her. She had seen the proof. Captain Jaren was real, the legends were true, and the danger was approaching. There was no time for doubt. As night fell, Lyra guided Jaren through the ruins, showing him hidden passages, traps, and ancient symbols. He studied them carefully, nodding occasionally, asking questions, and making observations that amazed her. Every step revealed more of his insight, his creativity, and his ability to see patterns that no alien could. They reached a high cliff overlooking a vast valley. Below, the forest stretched endlessly, dotted with ruins that had not been explored for centuries. A faint glow shimmered in the distance like the heartbeat of the planet itself. "That's where we will start," Lyra said. "The legends say the strongest guardians reside there. If we can understand them, maybe we can stop what is coming. Jaren nodded. Then we move at dawn. Lyra looked at him, a mix of respect and curiosity in her eyes. She had doubted humans for her entire life. But standing here, watching the stars reflect in his determined eyes, she realized the truth. Humans were extraordinary, not because of power alone, but because of their courage, their adaptability, and their will to face the impossible. The wind whispered through the ruins, carrying with it an unspoken promise. Lyra felt it in her bones. This was only the beginning. The human warrior had arrived, and with him, a new hope for Veyrath. As she lay down that night staring at the twin moons, she could not sleep. Her mind was alive with questions, strategies, and possibilities. The legends had always seemed distant and meaningless, but now they were real, tangible, and urgent. And at the heart of them was Captain Jaren, the human warrior who had come to challenge fate itself. Lyra knew one thing with certainty. She could never go back to the way things were. The arrival of the human had changed everything. The planet's history was about to be rewritten, and she would witness it all. Tomorrow their journey would begin. And Lyra, the skeptic, was ready to follow the legend, to follow the human warrior, and discover the truth that lay hidden for centuries. The sun rose slowly over the vast forests of Veyrath, painting the ruins and cliffs in soft shades of orange and gold. Lyra felt a mix of excitement and fear as she prepared to follow Captain Jaren into the depths of the ancient ruins. Today they would face the first true challenge, one that would test their courage, intelligence, and teamwork. Lyra adjusted her satchel, making sure the glowing artifact was secure. The tablet had become a guiding light for their journey, pulsing faintly whenever they approached areas of significance. The ruins had reacted strongly to Jaren's presence, almost as if they recognized him. Lyra still did not understand why, but she trusted him more with every passing day. "Are you ready?" Jaren asked, standing tall and confident. His eyes scanned the forest, alert to every movement. Lyra nodded, swallowing her nervousness. "As ready as I'll ever be," she said. They began walking toward the forest valley below the cliff. The terrain was rough, filled with jagged rocks, twisted trees, and hidden crevices. Lyra had explored these areas countless times before, but today felt different. The air was charged with anticipation, and even the animals seemed uneasy, fleeing from their path. The ruins themselves loomed ahead, towering stone structures covered in ancient symbols, some glowing faintly as if alive. Jaren paused, studying the patterns. "These symbols," he said quietly, "they're warnings. The Guardians are near. We must be careful." Lyra nodded, feeling a shiver run down her spine. She had read about these Guardians in the legends, creatures that protected the ruins for centuries, designed to challenge anyone who dared enter. But she had never imagined facing them herself. They entered the first chamber. The walls were covered in carvings depicting humans fighting enormous creatures, humans leading alien armies, and humans unlocking hidden powers within themselves. Lyra's eyes widened. She had always doubted these stories, but seeing them here, in such vivid detail, made her realize just how real the legends were. Suddenly, the floor beneath them shifted. Lyra stumbled but caught herself just in time. "A trap!" She looked at Jaren, who was already analyzing the floor. "Step carefully," he instructed. "These ruins are designed to test intelligence and reflexes, not just strength." Lyra followed his lead, moving cautiously. Jaren's guidance was precise, pointing out subtle cracks and hidden triggers. His ability to read the environment was unlike anything she had seen among her own people. Every move was calculated yet flexible, a perfect balance of strategy and instinct. They reached a narrow corridor, the walls lined with glowing crystals. The air was thick and a low hum vibrated through the stone. Suddenly, a shadow moved ahead of them, a guardian. It was enormous, with dark armored skin and eyes that glowed like molten metal. Its limbs were long and sharp, moving with terrifying speed. Lyra froze, but Jaren stepped forward, his stance calm and controlled. "Stay behind me," he said. "Watch, learn, and be ready to act." The guardian lunged. Jaren moved with precision, dodging and striking in a fluid motion. He used his surroundings to his advantage, causing falling stones to knock the guardian off balance. Lyra's heart raced as she watched him adapt to each attack instantly. "You can't just rely on strength," he explained mid-battle. "You need to think, observe, and use everything around you." Lyra nodded, realizing that she had underestimated the complexity of these trials. Humans were not just warriors. They were thinkers, strategists, and improvisers. Jaren's approach was methodical yet creative, and it gave her a new perspective on what humans could achieve. After a tense battle, the Guardian fell, defeated but not destroyed. It collapsed in a heap, its glowing eyes fading. Lyra exhaled, both relieved and amazed. You're incredible," she said. Jaren glanced at her, a faint smile on his face. "We're just getting started. There are stronger Guardians ahead." They continued deeper into the ruins, encountering puzzles and traps that challenged both their minds and their reflexes. Some required precise timing, others demanded clever use of the environment. Lyra was surprised to find that she could contribute meaningfully, using her knowledge of the ruins to solve certain puzzles. But Jaren's presence elevated her efforts. He could see patterns she had never noticed, find solutions in moments that would have taken her hours. At one point, they reached a vast chamber filled with swinging pendulums and shifting floors. Lyra hesitated, unsure of how to proceed. Jaren studied the room for a moment, then gestured toward a sequence of symbols on the wall. "Follow the pattern," he said. "Time your movements with the pendulums. The floor reacts to pressure, but in a rhythm. Watch it and move carefully." Lyra did as he instructed. Step by step, she moved with precision, avoiding the swinging blades and shifting tiles. Jaren moved alongside her, guiding her through subtle gestures and quiet instructions. By the time they reached the other side, her heart was pounding, but she had never felt more alive. "You're learning fast," Jaren said. "That's important. Knowledge is as powerful as strength here." Lyra smiled, feeling a new sense of confidence. She had always prided herself on intelligence, but she realized that human adaptability combined with strategy made an unbeatable combination. As they advanced, the ruins began to react more intensely. Glowing symbols flickered on and off, the walls hummed with energy, and the temperature shifted unpredictably. Lyra sensed that they were nearing the heart of the trial. Finally, they reached a massive chamber, the largest they had seen. In the center stood a pedestal with a glowing crystal, surrounded by strange runes. The air was thick with power, and Lyra felt a strange pull from the artifact she carried. "This must be it," she whispered. "The source of the Guardian's power." Jaren nodded. "We need to be careful. One wrong move and the entire chamber could collapse, or worse." As they approached, the Guardians appeared again. This time there were 3 of them, larger and more aggressive than before. They moved in coordination, testing every attack and defense. Lyra felt a flicker of fear, but she remembered Jaren's lessons. Observe, adapt, and use the environment. The battle was intense. Jaren moved with calculated precision, striking and dodging while guiding Lyra to support him. She discovered her own strength, using quick thinking and clever maneuvers to distract the Guardians and create openings for Jaren. Together, they were unstoppable. At the climax of the fight, one Guardian lunged at Lyra. She froze, but Jaren shouted a quick instruction. Using the environment, she triggered a trap that sent the Guardian crashing into the wall. She realized then that humans and aliens could complement each other in ways neither species could achieve alone. After the last Guardian fell, the pedestal's crystal pulsed with light, reacting to their combined presence. Lyra approached cautiously, holding her artifact. The two glowed in unison, as if recognizing each other. "It's responding," she said. "I don't know why, but it feels like it's waiting for us." Jaren studied the crystal. "It's a test, not just of strength, but of cooperation, intelligence, and courage. You passed, Lyra. You've learned to trust, adapt, and act with purpose. That's what humans do naturally. And now so do you." Lyra felt a warmth in her chest, a mix of pride and awe. She had doubted humans for so long, yet now she understood their true potential. They were not perfect, but their ingenuity, courage, and adaptability made them extraordinary. The chamber's glow faded slowly, signaling the end of the trial. Lyra and Jaren took a moment to rest, catching their breath and reflecting on what they had accomplished. "You were amazing," Lyra said quietly. "I didn't just watch a human fight today. I watched a legend in action." Jaren shook his head, smiling faintly. "We're not done yet. This was only the first trial. The challenges ahead will be harder, and the stakes even higher. But I have faith in us and in you." Lyra looked around the ruins, feeling a mix of wonder and determination. She had started this journey as a skeptic, doubtful of the legends and the power of humans. But now, standing beside Captain Jaren, she knew the truth. Humans were extraordinary, capable of facing impossible odds and inspiring those around them. And the real adventure was just beginning. As they prepared to move deeper into the ruins, Lyra felt a sense of purpose unlike anything she had ever known. Together, they would face the challenges ahead, uncover the mysteries of the ancient guardians, and perhaps even save their world from the dangers that lurked in the shadows. The forest outside whispered in the wind, carrying the promise of trials, discoveries, and victories to come. Lyra and Jaren, the alien historian and the human warrior, stepped forward into the unknown, ready to prove that courage, intelligence, and trust could overcome even the greatest challenges. The forest of Veyrath was unusually quiet as Lyra and Captain Jaren moved deeper into the ancient ruins. The early morning sun filtered through the thick canopy, casting long, shifting shadows across the moss-covered stones. The air was thick with anticipation, as if the planet itself was holding its breath. Lyra tightened the strap of her satchel, feeling the familiar pulse of the glowing tablet inside. Every step they took made the artifact hum more strongly. The guardians they had faced in the first trial had been nothing compared to what awaited them. She could feel it deep in her bones. A presence ancient and powerful was stirring. "Do you feel that?" Lyra asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Jaren stopped and closed his eyes, sensing the environment like a predator reading its prey. "Yes," he replied. "It's close. Much closer than we expected. The energy? It's unlike anything I've ever encountered." They reached the central chamber of the ruins. It was massive, with ceilings that disappeared into darkness and walls covered in carvings of battles fought eons ago. The floor was etched with concentric circles glowing faintly as if alive. Lyra felt her pulse quicken. She had read about this place in fragments of legends, but nothing could have prepared her for standing here in person. "The heart of the ruins," she murmured. "The source of power for the Guardians, and perhaps the source of the threat." Jaren nodded. "We need to be careful. Whatever's here, it's awake. It's aware of us." Suddenly, the ground trembled. Dust fell from the high ceilings and a low, resonant roar echoed through the chamber. Lyra's heart raced as she saw the source of the disturbance. From the shadows of the chamber's far end, a massive form emerged, a being unlike any they had ever seen. It was enormous, with limbs that twisted like roots and eyes that glowed with ancient intelligence. Its body seemed to shift and ripple as if made of shadows and stone combined. It emitted a sound that was both a roar and a voice, resonating directly in their minds. "Who dares enter my domain?" the entity demanded. Lyra felt a chill run through her body. This is the being the legends warned about," she whispered. Jaren stepped forward, his stance calm and deliberate. "We are here to stop you," he said firmly. "We don't seek to destroy you without reason, but your awakening threatens this world. We will protect it." The entity laughed, or at least Lyra thought it was a laugh. The sound vibrated the air itself. "Foolish beings," it said. "You cannot hope to challenge me. Your technology, your weapons, your strength, none of it can match the power of the Ancient." Jaren did not flinch. He studied the entity, analyzing its movements, its posture, and its energy. "Then we will have to be smarter than you," he replied calmly. The entity's form shifted, becoming more monstrous and terrifying. The chamber walls shook violently, and the glowing runes on the floor brightened. Lyra realized that this was no ordinary battle. It was a test of strategy, courage, and unity. As the entity advanced, the guardians from the previous trials appeared, summoned by its power. They were faster and more aggressive, attacking with coordinated precision. Lyra and Jaren fought back, but even together the guardians' numbers made the battle nearly overwhelming. "You need to trust me," Jaren shouted over the chaos. "I'll create an opening, then follow my lead." Lyra nodded, her fear replaced by determination. She moved as he instructed, using the environment to her advantage. She triggered hidden traps, blocked paths, and distracted the guardians, giving Jaren the chance to strike with precision. Despite his skill, Jaren struggled against the sheer power of the entity and its guardians. Each strike he made was countered, each movement anticipated. Lyra realized that brute strength alone would not be enough. They needed a plan. "Look at the patterns," Jaren shouted. "The entity reacts to energy and movement. If we can synchronize our attacks, we can exploit its weaknesses." Lyra's mind raced. The glowing tablet pulsed violently in her satchel. She realized that it was connected to the entity, somehow resonating with its power. If they could channel its energy through the tablet, perhaps they could weaken it. "Follow my lead," she yelled. She activated the artifact, focusing its energy toward the entity. The crystal on the pedestal responded, sending beams of light that struck the being. It roared, recoiling from the energy. Jaren seized the opportunity. With precision and strategy, he maneuvered around the Guardians, striking at critical points. Lyra joined him, using her knowledge of the ruins and the artifact to support his attacks. Together, they were a force unlike anything the entity had encountered. The battle raged on, each moment more intense than the last. Lyra realized that the entity was testing them, not just their strength, but their unity, intelligence, and courage. Every time they adapted, it responded with more cunning and ferocity. Hours seemed to pass in minutes. Lyra and Jaren fought tirelessly, relying on each other completely. Lyra's skepticism from the past was gone. She no longer doubted the legends or the extraordinary abilities of humans. Jaren's skill, courage, and adaptability had proven it all. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Jaren found an opening. With a calculated strike, he aimed for the heart of the entity's power, the glowing core that pulsed within its massive form. Lyra focused the artifact, amplifying the energy and directing it toward the same target. The chamber shook violently. Light and shadow clashed in a brilliant explosion of energy. The entity screamed, a sound that shook the very foundation of the ruins. For a moment it seemed as though all was lost, but then slowly the creature faltered. Its massive form began to collapse, its energy dissipating into the ruins. Lyra fell to her knees, exhausted but exhilarated. Jaren stood beside her, breathing heavily but calm, his eyes scanning the chamber for any remaining threats. The Guardians had vanished, their power linked to the entity now gone. "It's over," Lyra whispered, disbelief and relief mixing in her voice. "We did it," Jaren nodded, placing a hand on her shoulder. "No, we did it together. You played a critical role. Without your knowledge, your quick thinking, and your courage, we wouldn't have succeeded." Lyra smiled, a mixture of pride and awe in her eyes. She had begun this journey as a skeptic, doubting the legends and the abilities of humans. But now she understood the truth. Humans were extraordinary not because of strength alone, but because of their intelligence, adaptability, and unyielding courage. As the dust settled and the chamber returned to a calm, eerie quiet, Lyra and Jaren surveyed the ruins. The glowing crystal pulsed faintly as if acknowledging their victory. The forest outside seemed to exhale, the tension lifting as the ancient threat receded. Lyra turned to Jaren, determination in her eyes. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now," Jaren replied, "we prepare for what's next. This entity was only the beginning. There are greater threats out there, and your planet is just one of many that need protection. But today we prove something important. Together, humans and aliens can face even the impossible." Lyra felt a thrill in her chest. She had witnessed courage, skill, and determination unlike anything she had imagined. She had learned that strength alone was not enough. Intelligence, strategy, and trust were equally vital. As night fell over Veyrath, the twin moons cast their light over the ruins. Lyra and Jaren set up a temporary camp, resting and preparing for the next stage of their journey. The stars above seemed to twinkle with promise, a silent witness to their victory and the challenges still ahead. Lyra reflected on everything that had happened. The legends she had once dismissed as myths were true. Humans, with their ingenuity and courage, were capable of facing threats that even advanced alien civilizations could not. And Captain Jaren, the human warrior, had proven it all. For the first time in her life, Lyra felt a sense of true partnership. She was no longer a skeptic. She was a believer, ready to stand alongside a human warrior and face whatever dangers awaited. The awakening had tested them, but it had also revealed their potential. Together they had turned fear into action, chaos into strategy, and danger into opportunity. Lyra knew that the real challenges were only beginning. The universe was vast, full of mysteries, dangers, and adventures yet to come, but with Jaren by her side, she felt ready for anything. The dawn broke over Veyrath, painting the forests and ruins in shades of gold and silver. The events of the previous day still echoed in Lyra's mind. The awakening of the ancient entity, the fierce battle, and the realization that humans were capable of extraordinary courage and intelligence. But she knew that the real challenge was not over. "Are you ready?" Jaren asked, standing at the edge of the ruins, scanning the horizon. His posture was calm, but the intensity in his eyes told Lyra that he was fully prepared for whatever lay ahead. Lyra nodded, adjusting her satchel and checking the glowing tablet. "As ready as I'll ever be," she said. She had grown stronger over the past trials. Her confidence in herself and her human allies solidified. Together they had learned the power of unity, strategy, and courage. "Good," Jaren replied. "The entity's minions may regroup, and there may be others we cannot see. We need to be prepared for anything." The forest around them was eerily quiet, the kind of silence that spoke of anticipation. Lyra felt the pulse of the tablet grow stronger, as if warning them of danger. Her heart pounded, but she no longer felt fear, only focus. They moved through the ruins carefully, aware that the Guardians might still linger, or that new threats could emerge at any moment. As they approached a massive clearing, the ground began to tremble and a deep roar echoed from the distant mountains. Lyra froze. "It's starting again," she whispered. Jaren's eyes narrowed. "Yes, the main force is coming. This is it, the final battle." From the shadows of the forest, enormous creatures began to emerge. They were larger than the Guardians they had faced before, with jagged limbs, glowing eyes, and bodies that seemed to shimmer with an unnatural energy. Their movements were coordinated, intelligent, and terrifying. Lyra gripped the tablet tightly, feeling its energy resonate with the creature's presence. She understood now that it was not just a tool, it was a link to the planet, to the power that had protected and challenged Veyrath for centuries. Jaren stepped forward, drawing his weapons with calm precision. His confidence inspired Lyra. "Remember what we learned," he said. "Observe, adapt, and use everything around you. Together, we can overcome this." The creatures attacked with relentless speed. Jaren moved like a shadow, striking with calculated force, dodging and using the environment to his advantage. Lyra followed his lead, triggering traps and guiding the energy of the tablet to weaken the creatures. Every attack, every movement was synchronized, a perfect blend of human strategy and alien knowledge. The battle raged across the clearing, shaking the ground and rattling the ancient ruins. Lyra felt fear and exhilaration mix in her chest. She had faced danger before, but this was unlike anything she had experienced. The creatures were powerful, intelligent, and relentless, but so were they. As the fight continued, Lyra realized that brute force alone would not win this battle. They needed to outthink the enemy, exploit weaknesses, and coordinate their efforts perfectly. She began to notice patterns in the creature's movements, subtle delays and reactions that Jaren might not see. "Here," she shouted, pointing toward a weak point in one of the creatures. Jaren adjusted instantly, striking at the precise moment, and the creature faltered. Lyra's confidence grew with each victory. She was no longer just an observer. She was an active participant, contributing strategy, knowledge, and courage to the fight. She realized that humans and aliens could achieve far more together than either could alone. Hours passed, but they did not falter. Their energy, strategy, and determination carried them through wave after wave of attackers. Jaren's leadership was flawless, his instincts guiding them through impossible situations, while Lyra's insight and knowledge of the ruins amplified their effectiveness. Finally, they reached the heart of the battlefield, a massive creature larger than any they had seen before. Its body shimmered with energy, eyes glowing like molten cores. It roared, shaking the entire clearing. This was the entity's ultimate guardian, the final challenge. Lyra felt the tablet pulse violently in her hands. She understood that this was their moment. "This is it," she whispered. Jaren nodded. "We do this together. Trust me." The creature lunged, its speed and power overwhelming. Jaren dodged and struck, but it barely slowed the beast. Lyra focused the tablet, sending a beam of energy toward the creature's core. The glow from the artifact merged with Jaren's strikes, creating a combined force of strategy, intelligence, and raw power. The battle reached its peak intensity. Every movement, every attack was a test of skill, courage, and cooperation. Lyra and Jaren moved as one, each anticipating the other's actions, each compensating for the weaknesses of the other. They were no longer human and alien. They were a single force, unstoppable and precise. The creature roared one final time, staggering under the combined attacks. Lyra and Jaren pressed on, striking relentlessly. With one final, coordinated move, they focused all their energy on the core of the Guardian. The crystal pulsed violently, then exploded in a burst of light that illuminated the entire clearing. When the light faded, the creature lay defeated. The remaining minions fled, their coordination broken, leaving the battlefield silent except for the heavy breathing of Lyra and Jaren. Lyra fell to her knees, exhausted but exhilarated. She looked at Jaren, who stood tall, surveying the battlefield with calm determination. "We did it," she said, disbelief and relief in her voice. Jaren walked over and placed a hand on her shoulder. "No," he said firmly. "We did it together. Your courage, your knowledge, and your quick thinking made this possible. You are as much a hero as anyone here." Lyra smiled, feeling a mix of pride, awe, and newfound confidence. She had started this journey as a skeptic, doubting humans and the legends. Now she understood the truth. Humans were extraordinary. They adapted, they thought, and they faced impossible odds with courage and creativity. The ruins around them seemed to settle, the energy of the defeated creatures dissipating into the air. The forest exhaled, and the planet itself seemed to acknowledge their victory. Lyra felt the tablet pulse softly, a gentle reminder of the power they had harnessed together. Jaren looked at the horizon, where the first rays of dawn bathed the forest in golden light. "This is just the beginning," he said. "There are more challenges out there in this world and beyond. But today we proved something important. Humans and aliens can face the impossible together." Lyra nodded, feeling a surge of determination. She had witnessed courage, intelligence, and adaptability beyond anything she had imagined. She had learned that the impossible could be overcome with unity, strategy, and trust. As they made their way back to the council, Lyra reflected on everything that had happened. The legends were true. Humans were extraordinary. And Captain Jaren, the human warrior, had not only proven it but had inspired her to believe in possibilities she had never imagined. The council greeted them with awe and respect. The elders who had doubted the human warrior now bowed in acknowledgement of their bravery. Lyra stepped forward, holding the glowing tablet. "This human," she said, her voice strong and clear, "is not just a warrior. He is proof that courage, intelligence, and adaptability can change the fate of civilizations. Today we have seen the truth of the legends." Elder Talion stepped forward, his eyes softening with admiration. "Lyra, you were right. The legends were not false. Humans possess qualities that inspire, lead, and protect. Today we have witnessed greatness." Jaren stood quietly, his calm demeanor unchanged, yet a faint smile touched his lips. "We are all capable of greatness," he said. "It's not just about one species, it's about unity, courage, and action. Together we can face anything." Lyra felt a thrill of hope and determination. She had started this journey as a skeptic, unsure of the truth behind the legends. Now she had seen firsthand the power of humans and the potential of unity between species. She knew that Veyrath, and perhaps the galaxy, was safer because of their actions. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, Lyra and Jaren walked through the ruins, side by side. The planet seemed alive, humming with energy and possibilities. They had faced impossible odds, overcome fear, and triumphed against ancient power. Lyra glanced at Jaren. "Thank you," she said quietly. "For everything. For proving the legends, for teaching me, and for standing with me." Jaren nodded. "The thanks go both ways. You believed, you adapted, and you fought. Without you, none of this would have been possible." Lyra smiled. For the first time, she felt truly part of something greater. The legends had come alive, and she had not only witnessed them, but had become part of them. As they looked out over the forest, the ruins, and the rising sun, Lyra knew that their journey was far from over. The galaxy was vast, full of mysteries, dangers, and adventures yet to come. But with courage, intelligence, and unity, she and the human warrior were ready for anything. The legends had been proven true. Humans were extraordinary, and together they had triumphed. Veyrath was safe for now. But Lyra knew that with Captain Jaren at her side, the impossible would always be possible. The future was bright, filled with hope and full of adventures waiting to be discovered, and so, the skeptic became a believer, the legend became reality, and the human warrior's arrival marked the beginning of a new era for Veyrath, one where courage, intelligence, and unity would guide the path forward.